the guidance of Director Ma'am to have this panel discussion on the Union Budget 2022. So we welcome you, ma'am, on the board with us, with all the students and the panel jury members. So ma'am, with your due permission,
please go ahead.
Yeah, over to the anchors.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So a very good afternoon to one and all. I, Aditi Prajapati, along with Akriti Sadana, welcome you all to the panel discussion on Union Budget 2022 post-budget analysis, organized by the Institute of Management Studies, Ghaziabad.
We feel honored to have amongst us Mr. Manohar Puranik, Financial Educational Counsellor, ICICI Foundation for Inclusive Growth, Dr. Ajit Gupta, Head Sales Excellence, Asia-Pacific Autodesk, Ms. Neelu Jain, Area Manager, Institutional Sales, MAHINDRA Asset Management Company, Dr. Urvashi Makkar, Director, IMS Ghaziabad, and Dr. Lakshmi Pandey, Associate Professor, IMS Ghaziabad. Let's have a huge round of applause.
Deep Jyoti Para Brahma, Deep Jyoti Janardana, Deepo me haratu papam, Deepo Jyotir Namostata.
Before moving further, let us all seek the blessings of Goddess Saraswati by lighting the auspicious lamp. Shubham kurutvam kalyanam, arogyam dhana sampadah. Shubham kurutvam kalyanam, arogyam dhana sampadah. Shatru buddhi vinashaya, deepajyotir namostute. Deepajyotir namostute. Shubham kurutvam kalyanam, arogyam dhana sampadah. Shubham kurutvam kalyanam, arogyam dhana sampadah. May each one of us be blessed by the deity of knowledge and wisdom.
According to Article 112 of Indian Constitution, the Union Budget of a year, also referred as the Union Annual Financial Statement, is a statement of estimated receipts and expenditure of the government for the particular year. At IMS Ghaziabad, we strongly believe that students must have a sound understanding regarding monetary and fiscal policy and its impact on economic growth. Today's panel discussion on post-budget analysis of Union Budget 2022 is specially organized by the Institute in order to acquaint the students with the impact and implications of the announcement on various economic indicators.
We are privileged to have amongst us an expert panel of speakers for sharing their insights with us. It is our honor to introduce them. Please put your hands together for Mr. Manohar Puranik, Financial Educational Counsellor, ICICI Foundation for Inclusive Growth. Mr. Manohar has a rich experience of over 40 years in banking industry and has held overseas assignments at State Bank of India, Los Angeles, USA. An expert in the fields of branch management, credit analysis, international banking, audit functions, business finance, etc., he is spreading financial literacy among students, faculties, and corporate employees. Welcome, sir.
Our next panelist speaker. Thank you, sir. Our next panelist speaker is Dr. Ajit Gupta, currently serving as Head Sales Excellence, Asia-Pacific Autodesk. A PhD from IIM Lucknow, Dr. Ajit has completed management and economic degrees at master's level from IIM Ahmedabad, University of Delhi, and Northeastern University, USA. An inspirational leader with multifaceted individual with a passion for learning and delivering results, he has been leading the finance and operations functions of reputed organizations like Microsoft, IBM, and HDFC Bank. A big round of applause for him. Please accept our cordial greetings, sir.
We are fortunate to have amongst us Ms. Neelu Jain, currently associated with Mahindra Asset Management Company as Area Manager, Institutional Sales. She has over 16 years of experience in mutual fund advisory and relationship management with corporate clientele, institutions, and banks. A recipient of numerous awards, her expertise is in the domain of risk return, competitive analysis, and client investment needs. Please welcome her with a huge round of applause.
Thank you for the warm welcome.
Thank you, ma'am.
May we now request Dr. Riya Bhattacharya to kindly introduce the theme. Please, ma'am.
Thank you, Aditi. Thank you, Akriti. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, Honorable Director, ma'am. It is indeed a pleasure to speak few lines about the budget. Being an economic student, I feel I'm very, very related to this budget theme. So thank you, everyone. The budget, I feel, is a score sheet for an economic performance. The central government tries to have an in-depth analysis of the economy with respect to the budget. The Union Budget of 2022-23 presents an expensive vision that is built on welfare-oriented strategies. Personally, I feel the primary objective of the budget is to have a balance between monetary policy, fiscal policy, and a growth policy. The budget of FY 2021-22 focused on infrastructure growth and its financing. According to the Finance Minister, Nirmala Sitharaman, inclusive development culminated with productivity enhancing public expenditure is an utmost requirement for the growth of GDP, especially more when it is concerned to post-COVID era. The budget made a provision to improve efficiency by community, and that would make the government to incur 75% of the constructed payments for its infrastructure projects. Now, this will help us to have increase in government spending. Government spending is always beneficial for the upliftment of the poor and to have a top-down approach for the economy. The inclusive development also plans to have a health insurance cover for 500 million people who needs to access the healthcare. Further, it also reflects on the total resources of the funds, including devolution of state shares. In layman terms, government aimed to increase the government spending by grants, loans under centrally sponsored schemes. It is emphasized that the public and the private investment, for example, that the government introduced surety bonds in place of bank guarantees for large-scale investment of infrastructure projects. Lastly, the Union Budget of FY23 also focused on the announcement of blockchain-based digital currency. This innovative practice could potentially reduce the cost of monetary transaction and help the economy grow to a substantial level, an important step to enhance money flow in the economy. In a nutshell, this budget proposed 4 primary objectives. First, to attain an achievable revenue targets, large market borrowing program, infrastructure development with moderate overall capex growth. Thank you so much. I feel personally that we will attain a great economic development with sustainable growth. Thank you so much. Now, I would request Honorable Director, ma'am, to share a few words regarding her opinion about the budget. Please, ma'am.
Dr. Riya, the anchors would be requesting ma'am formally. So we are just inviting ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Riya ma'am. It has been rightly said, to accomplish something, you must first have a mission, a goal, a hope, and a vision. We are privileged to be led by one such visionary, none other than Dr. Urvashi Makkar, Director, IMS Ghaziabad.
It is our privilege to introduce her. With PhD in marketing and an executive program in human resource management from IIM Calcutta, Dr. Urvashi is an academician par excellence with a knack of entrepreneurial spirit. A widely traveled academician having leadership certifications from Harvard University, UK India Education and Research Initiative, besides many others in the list, and with a rich experience of more than 26 years in academics, research, teaching, training, and consultancy, she has created a niche for herself in the domain of management education. She is a vivid researcher and has to her credit 13 books published by the renowned publishing houses, including Tata McGraw-Hill, and more than 80 publications in refereed international, national journals, and conferences. Let us all have a huge round of applause for her. May we now request Dr. Urvashi to kindly deliver the inaugural address. Please, ma'am.
Thank you very much for this lavish introduction, my dear students and faculty members, and Akriti, thanks for your beautiful words, Aditi. So, well, I believe that this today's session definitely is going to give a lot of new insights to our students, and I'm very much grateful to all the three experts who are present here to discuss the union budget, Mr. Manohar, Ms. Neelu, and Mr. Ajit. Thanks a lot on behalf of IMS fraternity, because I'm very sure that whenever the right opportunities are given to our students, it's equally important to give them the right resource persons also, so that what exactly is expected out of these platforms, opportunities, and activities can be delivered also. So we are really hopeful that the deliberations of this session are going to give us the desired outcomes. My dear students, there is one aspect which I would definitely like to share with you, because sometimes there is a confusion between an economist perspective and a management professional's perspective on the union budget. And all of you are sitting here as the future management professionals. Undoubtedly, few of you might claim certain positions in which economist perspective will have more weightage as compared to be a management professional. But I'm very sure that currently, you being a management student, it's very important to understand what exactly you should try to analyze in a union budget. What are the various parameters, the variables, and the factors which must be the focus areas? The current budget, undoubtedly, I would not like to give any colors in terms of by associating any adjectives to it, because the purpose of today's session is to analyze it. But yes, I believe the current budget is highly promising. It's definitely going to have long-term impacts in the Indian economy in the coming years. So as a student, what exactly to analyze? If you can understand that, I'm sure you can focus on those core areas. I believe that few analytical factors, parameters for budgetary analysis must be that whether this current budget is fulfilling the parameter of promising the future vision of the country or not. That's very important point to be understood. Is the current budget a visionary budget, or it is just for the short-term gains as a political gimmick, or is it giving the midterm gains to the country, or it's going to have long-term impacts for the future generations? So whether the budget is futuristic or visionary is very, very important point of analysis. I believe as a management students, you must understand. I'm hopeful that all the worthy panelists will put some light on this aspect. Second, very important perspective I believe should be taken into consideration for the analysis part is that whether the social equilibrium has been tried to maintain in the union budget or not. Is the budget having inclusive policies or not for the different strata of the society? Or is it attuned only to one particular economic strata or the social strata? So what exactly is the perspective with respect to social equilibrium? That's what I believe should be very important criteria of analysis of any union budget. So I'm sure you will be having some configurations going on in your mind, students, that what are the parameters of social equilibrium, the balance in the society, inclusive policies for the different strata. So I'm sure some discussion will be focused on this area. The third very important perspective I believe must be taken into consideration is the sectoral allocation in the budget. The different sectors, how much importance and impetus has been given to health, pharmaceutical, education, manufacturing, defense, infrastructure, energy, then environmental impacts, and how much resource allocation and budgetary allocations have been done in all these different sectors. That definitely is going to decide the future course of action of the whole country, the whole nation. So I'm sure that that perspective will also be considered in this analysis. And here, because we all are sitting from the educational fraternity, I must share with the students that this budget has given us a lot of promise in terms of allocation to the higher education. So higher education budget for the next financial year at around rupees 40,000 crore is 6.4% more than the last year's budget, which in itself is showing the commitment of the current government towards the higher education, its progression and its growth, which definitely is a good news for our country. And one announcement I definitely want to share, which has touched us as the academicians sitting here, that is the announcement of the digital university, which is going to be established to provide access to the students across the country for world-class quality universal education with personalized learning experiences at their doorsteps. This will be made available in different Indian languages and ICT formats. Undoubtedly, this sounds very promising, very futuristic, and highly optimistic. We need to see how much we will be successful in its implementation and its effectiveness, definitely. But surely it is a good news for our country. And this university in question, the digital university format, will be built on a networked hub-spoke model, with the hub building cutting-edge ICT expertise, which again is symbolic to the ICT revolution in our country and the digital revolution, which is definitely touching every single strata of society of our country currently. So we are definitely looking forward to this, but certain presumptions are definitely there that the current government has given a lot of reasons to rejoice to the academic fraternity with these announcements. So I'm looking forward to that some focus of discussion would be on the sectoral allocation. I just have given one example of the education sector. If I'll give another example of the infrastructure, I'm sure all of us have listened carefully the budget, and again, very, very good news that allocation for National Highways Authority of India this year has been 1,34,000 crores, which is 105% more than the last year, which again is a great news for our country, which definitely is going to make a lot of differences in the coming generations. So that's why I believe on certain sectors, the budget has been highly visionary and futuristic. The goal has not to reach out to the short-term gains, but to the long-term impacts on the whole nation. So the last point, which I believe all the students must try to analyze, and obviously they must ask questions to the experts also, the impact of the budget on monetary and fiscal policies. Because again, that's going to have long-term impacts on the country's economy, its GDP growth. So I'm sure that these 4 areas are going to be discussed in this panel discussion, whether the budget is visionary, what are its impacts, social equilibrium or balance has been there or not, sectoral allocation, and finally the impacts on the various monetary and fiscal policies. And besides that, definitely, if we can discuss a little bit depending on the time, the strategic focus areas of the current budget. Of course, we have seen that a lot of impetus has been given on the defense, education, infrastructure, roadways, and railway network. Undoubtedly, these are certain strategic focus areas of the current budget. I'm sure it can be further extrapolated by the experts. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. This current discussion will go further. It's going to give a lot of food for thought to our students, the young ones who are going to join the corporate sector very soon. And these sessions are going to give them the direction and the guidance. So wish you all the best, my dear students. Looking forward to the great learning with the help of the experts on board. Try to ask questions, be inquisitive. I always have maintained that inquisitiveness leads to a lot of new insights and broader perspective. And that's what we are looking forward to. So thank you very much and happy learning in the coming 1 hour. Thanks.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for sharing your insights on analyzing the budget on 3 important parameters of whether the budget is visionary or futuristic, whether it is inclusive, or whether it is sectoral allocation are justified, and its impact on budget, on monetary and fiscal policies. Dear friends, we are extremely grateful to our distinguished expert panelists for being with us today. On the behalf of IMS Ghaziabad, may we request Dr. Urvashi to please felicitate them with the token of gratitude. Ma'am, please.
Yeah, surely it's my honor on behalf of IMS.
Please put your hands together for Mr. Manohar Puranik. Thank you, sir, for your esteemed presence.
A big round of applause for Dr. Ajit Gupta. Thank you so much, sir. We are privileged to have with you.
Our sincere gratitude to Ms. Neelu Jain. Thank you, ma'am, for your gracious presence.
To have some cherished memories of the day, we request our dignitaries to join us with a group photograph. We request the IT team to please take the pictures. And we all request to the participants to please switch on the camera for the photograph.
Done.
Thank you so much, team.
We will now start with the panel discussion on budget impact analysis on key economic indicators. We request Dr. Lakshmi Pandey to take the session from here.
Thank you, Akriti and Aditi. Welcome once again, our esteemed panelists. The discussion on the union budget is divided into 2 sessions, wherein the first session will talk about the overall impact of the budget 2022 on the economy of India per se, wherein I would request each panelist to state their views and takes on budget. Each panelist will get 6 to 7 minutes to express their views, and then we can have a concluding remark. The second part of the session, which is in continuity, will discuss specific impacts of budget on specific sectors. So without further ado, let's start the discussion. Budgets can be transformative, and all Indians become economists on the day of budget, contemplating on jargons like investments, income tax, disinvestments, fiscal deficit, and many more. Emerging from the shadows of pandemic, India is aiming for 9.27% growth, becoming a $5 trillion economy. Not easy. What India was expecting was a booster dose for bold reforms. But as an expert points out, it is a futuristic budget that can propel growth, the budget that is looking for future, shaping the tomorrow. Few key highlights of the budget were not banning digital assets, but taxing at 30%. Central bank digital currency, no hiking income tax, mega connectivity push, infrastructural spendings, Gati Shakti, Make in India boost, especially for defense, e-passports, 5G technology, optical fiber cables to all villages by 2025, mental health post-pandemic, digital education, digital university, e-Vidya, green push, and many more. With these opening remarks, I would like to invite our first speaker, Mr. Manohar Puranik, to state his reactions to Union Budget 2022 and its impacts on the various economic indicators. Please, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Lakshmi, for giving me the chance to give my views first. And thank you all the respected faculty member and Dr. Urvashi ma'am for giving this opportunity, and welcome all the participants also to this panel discussion. Before going to give my views, I just want to clarify, this is my personal views and not based on the views of my institution. So that was just a disclaimer. Now, as pointed out by Dr. Urvashi, that is a futuristic budget or a populistic budget. Earlier, we used to see the populistic budgets. Means giving such schemes which are very popular and which are very useful to the different kinds of people. But now this is the very visionary budget. Not only budget for a single year, not for a 1 year budget. It is extending for another 3 years to, or we can say 5 years. The 400 Vande Mataram trains will be introduced, not in 1 year, but it will be going for the next 3 years. And I'll say a lot of E and a lot of D is there in the budget. To talk about the E, it is very environment friendly. Lot of emphasis given on the development by e-vehicles or for their means their future. Lot of e-governance is also proposed in the budget, and not only employment but employability is the main focus of the budget. There are a lot of skills have been identified, which will be proposed to be trained on those skills, and various measures will be taken for that. So environment, employability are the main focus of this. Then e-governance, and the next one is the digitalization. The technology has developed so much that anything can be done nowadays by digital methods. As we have seen during the COVID time, no physical presence was required, and contactless learning was very much popular, has become popular. So we have to take forward this method, and therefore the digital university has been proposed by the government or by the finance minister. So these are the very good measures taken by the government. And as we have seen, what is the budget? Let us start at the basic. Budget means the income minus expenditure and the saving, that is the personal budget. But in case of nation budget or country's budget or union budget, there will always be deficit. Means the income or receipt will always less, and the expenditure or investment will always be more. But how this deficit will be met? So that is the deficit financing or deficit budget. So this time the deficit has been estimated at 6.9% during the current year, which is slightly higher than the 6.8% as proposed in the last year's budget. But the next year, the deficit has been projected as 6.4%. So again, this is whether that will be achieved or not, we will see later on. Now coming to the next point is the inflation. Every budget generally increases the inflation because of various taxation, various duties imposed on the various kind of things. But is this time not only taxes are imposed? I don't think there is any new tax imposed on any thing except the income from the virtual currency or virtual income. So except that there is no hike in the income tax, there is no hike in the custom duty or any kind of duties major hike. So this could be called as a low inflationary budget, and as proposed right now the inflation is around 5.9% is there. I think that Reserve Bank of India has to take some steps to reduce the inflation rate, because it is still considered to be higher and not acceptable to the country like this. It has to be come down. So I think that the RBI will come up with some increase in the repo rate and reverse repo rate, so that the inflation could be curtailed to some extent, which is still considered to be much higher. These are the two indicators. Then the growth, GDP growth, which has been 9.2% and surpassed the pre-COVID level also. due to various calculations, but still we expect that the growth will be much higher in current year also, as proposed by the as projected by the finance minister, 8 to 8.5% in 22-23. And I think it will be achieved with these measures proposed by the government, particularly the investment in the infrastructure sector. Yes, PM Gati Shakti Yojana, which will give impetus to the infrastructure sector. So all the sides of the country will be connected, and the transportation will become much faster. And with the connected with the digital platform, it will be very easy to find out where the particular parcel or where the particular goods are lying, and they will be connected to each other. There will be very much resilience between different sectors of the transportation or different transportation of the logistics. So logistics has been given much impetus in this particular budget, which will improve the delivery and the services to the delivery of the goods and services to the individual people. So these are some of the points I find in the this budget. Basically is that it is a very visionary budget, not only for 1 year, but going on for a longer period. It's considered to be visionary budget, considering a very environmental point of view, that we have to protect our earth so that there are no damage to the earth by way of taking steps which are detrimental to the environment. So a lot of steps have been taken in this particular budget for making it environment friendly. So these are my points, and thank you.
Thank you, sir. So would you just state something about Atmanirbhar Bharat and the way we have actually, the way it has gone? If you can...
Atmanirbhar Bharat has also gone very well, and this emphasis is given on the startups also. So a lot of benefits will be given to the startups during the current budget. And as I told you, the skill development is much more important than the education. Education is the basic education, but it has to be together with the skill development. So there are a lot of emphasis given the skill development, which will help in the making the India Atmanirbhar in various kind of things. So some of the very simple things, that the duty has been increased in the umbrella. Why it is so? Because the production of umbrella is enough in our country. So why need you to import the umbrella? So this shows that how much our country has become Atmanirbhar in various things. Similarly, the defense sector has been also opened for more procurement from the indigenous sector, so that it will also give the impetus to the indigenous sector and to the local industry.
Right, sir. So thank you, sir. Now I would like to invite Dr. Ajit Gupta to state his opinions on the same.
Thank
Ajit,
you
sir.
so much. Thank you so much, Professor Pandey. So first of all, I must acknowledge that whatever I had prepared has already been said first by the students, then by Professor Makkar, and finally by Mr. Puranik. So I don't have any new points, right? But what I want to do is to kind of bring in some of my perspective and hopefully invite some, thinking and hopefully conversation later on, right? Professor Makkar said that we should look at it from 4 points of view: managerial, social equilibrium, sectoral, and the impact on monetary and fiscal policy, right? So let me see if there is a way to link the social equilibrium and the monetary and fiscal policy aspects, right? And I don't have a lot of time, just 4 or 5 minutes. So let me see if I do something about that, right? So we all know that there has been 7.5 lakh crores worth of infrastructure investment, which is 35% more than what we are expected to spend in the current year, right? And majority of that is going to be on what I would call, from a managerial standpoint, easing of supply chain, right? I mean, we're talking about highways, we're talking about linking of rivers and multimodal transport, Gati Shakti, but what all that translates into is easing of supply chain. So what happens when you ease supply chains is that the productivity goes up, which hopefully should improve the GDP. And secondly, any inflation which is a supply constrained inflation should come down, right? There are 2 types of inflation, as we know. One is demand driven and the other is supply constrained. So hopefully the supply constrained inflation will see some easing as a result of infrastructure investment. it may not happen in the current fiscal or the next fiscal, but over a period of time. Now, this along with the production linked incentives, right, which is the PLIs that have been proposed for, I think, 14 sectors, and they are claiming that, it will create 60 lakh jobs over a period of time. So I think that is something that should help the social equilibrium to some extent. And then it talks about addition of about 30 lakh crores over the next 5 years to the GDP, which when I did some calculation amounts to around 2% of our GDP. If I take $3.5 is it trillion dollars as the GDP currently, right? So it amounts to about 2 percentage points improvement on that. Those I think are, some of the other ones. And Dr. Makkar spoke about the plans for education, especially and Mr. Puranik also mentioned the digital university and the push on skills, which I think is very important. The other point that I just want to add there is the ability of the foreign universities to set up in the gift city without having to go through a lot of local regulations. It's like saying that I can actually go and study at Harvard without taking a flight to Boston, right? Which I think is is a big one, right? Now, what else do I have? Now, I just want to we spoke about environment.
Can I ask you a question here? That you were talking about lots of things, but you are into a sector which is cloud and IT and everything that is there. So how is budget, affecting you as a sector? And whatever, because what we see in the budget today was the budget claimed about digital optical fibers, 5G coming in India, and so many things happening related to digital and digital tech, right? So what is your understanding or your impact that you feel in your sector and in the India to come?
No, absolutely. So, so there is this push on housing. So they're talking about building 80 lakh houses at a cost of some 48,000 crore rupees, right? Which translates to about 60,000 rupees per house, which somehow, sounds very low to me. But I'm just hoping that, with the usage of some amount of digital technology, and my company, the 3 main divisions that we have, one of those is architecture, engineering, and construction, right? So our software is actually used in construction work. So, and this government has actually taken forward the legacy of the previous governments in terms of digitizing a lot of things, right? Aadhaar, and then this whole CoWIN portal that we have where, vaccination is being managed so smoothly. So all of that will start coming in slowly. The finance minister spoke about, if I heard her correctly, a digital ID for health, which is similar to Aadhaar, right? And that again depends upon availability of technology, not only in terms of computing capability, but also in terms of bandwidth, which is where 5G and other things come in, right? So I think those are some of the important ones that I am seeing. There is just one more thing that I wanted to point out here. As students of business, we talk about crowding out of investment, right? So when the government has a large fiscal deficit, it tends to crowd out private investment because government ends up doing all the borrowing. And this budget, frankly, is no different, right? I mean, 6.4% of GDP is a large fiscal deficit. But if you recall what the finance minister said in her speech in the beginning, is that this budget is actually going to crowd in private investment on the back of government investment in infrastructure. So basically what she's talking about is that when all those highways are built, when all those rivers are linked and everything is done, then there will be, impetus to private investment. So I'll just pause and see if there's anything that you want me to add up about.
That's really nice. The direction of the budget discussion is going in the right way. Now let's see if Ms. Neelu takes it at a different level. Ms. Neelu, would invite you to comment on the budget now from the personal viewpoint, from your industry viewpoint. What do you have to say to the economy? How the budget is affecting the economy now?
Right. Good afternoon, everyone, and hello, and thank you, Dr. Lakshmi Pandey. Thank you, Director Ma'am, Dr. Makkar, for having me here. It's great, and I look forward to interacting with all the young, bright minds here. Now, as Dr. Ajit also mentioned, all the broader points have been covered by the speakers before me. I would just want to bring my perspective to the budget. Now, this budget has been the backdrop of this union budget has been an economy that's been ravaged by 2 years of pandemic, multiple waves. And so the year the pandemic struck us, 2020-21, our economy contracted. And in the last financial year, 21-22, the year that we are in, we grew at a very healthy growth rate of 9.2%, which is the fastest growing economy in the world. But having said that, the economy growth has not been even. It has been very uneven, and what is popularly termed as a K-shaped recovery. So some sectors have bounced back very fast. They are doing much better than, say, pre-COVID level. But there are some sectors which are contact intensive that are still, they are still to come up. And across the globe, what governments did to stop their economies from contracting was spend their way out of the pandemic. And our country was no different. So we ran a fiscal deficit of 6.9%, which is very high. And in this backdrop, the whole budgetary exercise becomes very important in the sense that every rupee that the government earns, stroke borrows, has to be employed in the best possible way. So what we look at when we look at this budget, it's an outlay of 39 lakh crores, and we are looking at a fiscal deficit of 6.4% next year, and that translates into a revenue target of 23 lakh crores approximately. And as it was mentioned by the previous speakers, there is a gap, a fiscal deficit of almost 16 lakh crores that has to be funded. Now, how is this 39 lakh crores being spent? And as Dr. Makkar also pointed, Mr. Puranik, Mr. Ajit pointed, the government broadly, whatever they are doing, it's very, I would say it will bear results in the next 3, 4, 5 years. It's very pro-growth, and it can be huddled into 4 major classes. First of all is capital expenditure. So how they are doing the capital expenditure, they are spending a lot on roadways, 25,000 kilometers of roads being built at an outlay of 20,000 crore rupees, railways, 400 Vande Mataram trains, logistics, cargo, you name it, they're spending it there, and in a fruitful way. Defense outlay has been increased, and communications, there is a huge thrust on digitalizing India, and not by laying the infrastructure for it. The second focus area is Make in India, Atmanirbhar Bharat, and the production. There are production linked incentives, PLIs. They are across, I think, 14 sectors. Two which stand out is 20,000 PLI for solar modules, manufacture of solar modules. They are giving PLIs for manufacture of 5G equipment in India. There is, in the defense sector, more than 60% of procurement would be domestically. So this is all, enabling, creating an environment where more jobs are being created domestically, and demand, which in turn will spur a demand. The third important point is there is a theme of digitalization across, be it education, as was mentioned by everyone. Digital universities are being set up. There are optical fiber network across villages, and 5G waves will be auctioned. 5G manufacturing is to be done in India, and the most important, we are going to have our own digital currency, which is e-rupee and e-passports. So come next financial year, we are going to have e-passports with chips embedded in it. And all that is the developmental part of it, Make in India, and they have tried to balance it with, say, environment friendly growth. So there is a thrust on EVs. They have announced a battery swapping program. There is a announcement for organic farming in Northeast at an outlay of 50,000 crore, and there is an announcement for, again, chemical free farming on the banks of Ganga River, So all in all, it's a very well balanced budget in my view, and it was the need of the hour where you had to balance fiscal prudence on one end and at the same time ensure that the economic multipliers are unlocked, which over the years create job, which over the years, give us a better or higher growth rates. So yes, that's my take on the budget.
That was really comprehensive and holistically explained to us that what exactly is happening with the budget in India and what are the different sectors that it will be going into. So in the last, we have almost got all the sectors in place, but I would request you all to just tell us or give your views on the youth orientation skills, because there was lots of talk about gaming, animations coming in, universities as we talked about. So what is the youth perspective in this whole budget? If you can summarize it, the discussion can be summarized in 1 minute by all the speakers. So I would invite Manohar sir to please speak first.
I will just say that youth is the backbone of our economy. So there is a lot of emphasis given for the development of youth. And as you said, the various kind of technical innovations will be supported by the government, which will be only possible with the youth only, because like we people, we cannot give any benefit to the technology. So it is all based on the contribution by the youth itself.
Okay, Dr. Ajit.
Yeah, so basically 3 things, right? One is the skill and education, which is where the Desh portal, the university, and the 200 TV channels. So that's one. Second is employment. So a lot of investment in infrastructure and stuff like PLI, local procurement for defense, which should help employment. And the third one is the continuation of income tax benefits or tax benefits for the startups, which also I think should be helpful from a standpoint of youth.
Okay, Ms. Neelu.
Yes, I think that's pretty much it. What the government has definitely tried to do is foster an environment of innovation. So the tax concession is there, there is PLI. They are also going to contribute 25% of their R&D budget in defense for academicians and startups. So that in itself, you have an environment in the country which is encouraging people to innovate, to go on the entrepreneurial path. So I think that's a big plus for the youth of today.
Okay.
Yeah.
So another thing that just came to my mind was the mental health post-pandemic that the government has been focusing on. So anything that you want to say on that count also?
I think India as a country, it was high time that they addressed it, and the pandemic has hastened the process, and it's really commendable and praiseworthy that even at the national level, the government has taken cognizance of this fact. So it's a very, very welcome step, because India, data shows that India has one of the maximum number of depressed people in the globe. So it's a very welcome step.
Right. Anything, Ajit sir, you want to say on this?
I will only express my skepticism, because what I understood is that it's going to be a government managed helpline to enable people to deal with mental health issues, and I have my experience which is not so good with government helplines, so we'll wait and watch.
Okay, Manohar sir, at your stage, what do you think that idea is?
Whatever is proposed by government, I will suggest that it is the responsibility of the educationalist or the doctors or the psychologists. They have to come forward and help the government in this this particular particular thing.
So we can say that the first session really was exhilarating. We had lots of views on different sectors, different topics, different budget outlays, be it capex, be it mental health, e-passports and everything, and it came out really well. So we'll be starting with the second session in a second or so. Would request each participants, students also, to keep the questions ready, and your insights to the budget, whatever your understanding here, you have to speak up at the end also, and we'll be giving surprises and some appreciation certificates to you for being participative. So keep yourself agile and active on the front of listening. Fine. So continuing with the session, we'll have union budget and its impact on the specific sectors now. So for that, first we talk about cryptos receiving a hint of acceptance, coexisting with the RBI-backed digital rupee, which is a sweet and a bitter news for the investors. Indian rupee on an Indian blockchain would be like 9 countries only have it, and so India will be one of them. This would mean a fundamental shift in the Indian financial system. Post office as a bank branch to be given a big push for financial inclusion, and many more incentives towards the banking sector. So with this, I would request Mr. Manohar Puranik to state his opinions and budget, his take on budget with respect to the banking, financial services and insurance sector, popularly known as BFSI sector. So sir, please.
Yeah, first, as mentioned by you, the 100% core banking is the post offices. So the question comes whether it is competing with the banks or it will be supporting the banks. So there are two views. I will say that it will compete with the banks in giving the services in the rural sector, but it will also support the banks that they will take away those customers which are not economical to the banks, and the smaller customer will get benefited from the post offices. So that way we can see that the 100% core banking solution for the post office will support the banks in giving the financial services to the customers. The second thing comes the great offtake from the banking industry. So there are two schemes which have been introduced. The continuation of the ECLGS, that is Emergency Credit Link Guarantee Scheme, extended up to March 2023. So that will further increase the credit offtake from the banks and giving good business to the banks. Similarly, revamping of the CGT-MSE scheme and making the further outlay of around 50,000 crore to this purpose will also boost the finance from the banks to this particular sector. These are the two main things which are, in my opinion, are related to the banking. There's 75 digital banking systems will be launched in the 75 center districts of the country by scheduled commercial banks. That will also reduce the pressure on the physical services by the banks and human intervention in that. So earlier I didn't mention the D of this particular budget is the digital rupee. The digital rupee is most important announcement of this particular budget. There is a central bank digital currency CBDC will be launched by RBI. We'll have to wait for its formal announcement by RBI and details about it, how it will be work in the way. But it will be much extensive as compared to the digital payment system that we are presently using it. Moreover, it will also reduce the burden on the physical currency. That is the more important thing. That slowly the pressure on the physical currency will be reduced and the human intervention between this will be reduced. So we will see more of the contactless banking or contactless transaction between the people. We'll see that. They're promoting fintech and digital economy is a focus of this budget, which will also give a lot of support to the banking industry, because entire time we will see that the entire banking services are based on only physical contacts. I don't think there is only physical contact is required nowadays to the bank, but still it still require much digitalization to see that the banking industry can serve the people without much contact. Then as pointed out by Mr. Ajit, that 8 million dwelling units will be constructed at the cost of 48,000 crore rupees. But we don't have to divide and find out the actual cost of the house. It is the actual outlay of the government for each house. The remaining funds will be made by the banks and by the individual. So bank will also have a good business in particular financing this housing industry because of this particular PM Awas Yojana. So this is a good impetus for doing business for the banks. Then outlay for the MSME has been budgeted as 2 trillion rupees, which will also give the lot of scope for financing from the banks and will be supported by the CGT-MSE scheme, so that the banks will not hesitate in financing the MSMEs, because that will be guaranteed by the CGT-MSE to some extent. So that is also one of the benefit to the banking sector. And one of the things which we have to see that while seeing that sectoral allocation to different kind of things. So agriculture startup have been taken up in this particular budget, and larger amount has been blended capital will be given to this agriculture startup also. So that is also one sector that has been added in this particular budget. Then RBI is going to issue green bonds to mobilize the green resources for the green infrastructure, which is also very environment friendly and also will give rise to a safe earth. I think I have covered mostly all the things which are linked with the banking sector. One point which was told by one of the speaker, that the bank guarantee is going to be replaced by the surety in the infrastructure sector, which will surely affect the fee-based income of the banking sector, because those are very high value guarantees given by the banks for infrastructure development, and that business will be reduced to some extent because it will be replaced by the sureties. So that will be one of the adverse features for the banking sector.
Okay. So anything on insurance sector that can be highlighted from the budget?
Insurance sector, I don't there is much was given in the budget, except that the additional deduction was allowed for the insurance of for medical insurance of the disabled dependent. That was the only benefit given in the insurance sector, I think.
Okay. So when we talk about, it's talking about financial inclusion. So how do you see India, because you've been dealing with the students and being the counselor. So how do you think that financial inclusion can actually take place? I mean, do you think India is getting into the inclusive or using the ICT that is being talked about, the digital that we talk about, the optical fibers? Do you think actually this is happening in the ground?
Yeah, it is happening so far, but still there is a lot of villages which are not connected by the this facility, optical fiber or digitalization. So there is still a lot of scope for reaching them for the financial inclusion. Still, and the financial literacy is also very low in our country, which is around 27% are only considered to be financially literate in our country. So financial literacy is not there in the financial inclusion. We cannot think of that, because people are still believing in the local market or local borrowing, and they are not coming forward to the banks for taking the loans or keeping the money in the bank itself. So there is still a lot of things to go for financial inclusion in our country. Though water developments have taken place in urban areas only. The rural areas, still there is not connectivity is there. Even if I want to take the such session webinar on say for the rural people, they say that there is no connectivity and we are not able to take the webinar there itself. So still there is a lot of things to happen in the rural areas.
Okay. Thank you, sir, for that insight. Mr. Ajay Parimal, Chairman Parimal Group, stated on budget that it is an inclusive roadmap that prepares for India at 100. Tax SOPs for startups to help increase employment, simplifications of the processes. The budget emphasis is on raising capex by whooping 35%, boosting growth and stimulating private investments, wages and production. Job creation by new age sectors like gaming and animations, boost on MSMEs, focus on skills, and many more. With that, I invite Dr. Ajit to state his views on the budget and its impact on the employment and entrepreneurship. Dr. Ajit?
Absolutely. So we discussed some of that in the previous half hour, right? So from the standpoint of entrepreneurship, what Mr. Puranik also mentioned, the emergency credit guarantee scheme, which has been extended by 1 year, and more importantly, another 50,000 crore rupees has been added to it to specifically take care of MSME hospitality sector. I think that's something that should help this sector, because it's also one of the hardest hit by the pandemic over the past couple of years, right? So that, to my mind, is one which will definitely help employment and entrepreneurship. We spoke about the extension of tax benefits on the startups and new companies, right? So depending on their date of incorporation. I think that's another one that should help. And Ms. Jain talked about the 68% domestic supply for the defense sector, and I spoke about the 14 sectors where PLIs are expected to generate 60 lakhs worth of, or 60 lakh people worth of employment over the next few years. So those are the ones that come to my mind, which are a direct mention in the budget, right? And obviously, in terms of the indirect implication of the 25,000 kilometers of highways, the linking of rivers, Gati Shakti, multimodal transportation, etc. All of that should help improve productivity in the economy, which should have a cascading impact on employment, right? So those are some of the things that are the top of my mind from the standpoint of employment and entrepreneurship.
Okay, so what do you think? I mean, you have talked about various sector. As a student, if somebody wants to, as a management student, if they want some sector specific like profiles they want to get into, job opportunities, what do you think are the current jobs that could come up with this kind of budget outlays that have been defined by the government?
One, there are two that come to my mind for sure. One is whatever is related to infrastructure, and which is the 7 areas which are a part of the Shakti, right? So that is one. The other one is this whole green economy, and Mr. Puranik spoke about the green bonds, but what's behind that is the battery swapping that Ms. Jain spoke about, and all the push that the government has on solar panels and everything that helps environment, and those are some of the sunrise sectors, and unfortunately they have been sunrise sector for a long time. They should have matured much earlier, but I think now is the right time. So those, to my mind, are the ones which will have a lot of opportunity going forward. Fintech definitely is another one, which is where I don't know if in terms of the quantum of employment there'll be a lot, but it is one sector which, without generating a lot of direct employment, can actually help a lot of people in this country, right? I mean, think of UPI as an example, even though it may not be very widely used in rural areas because of lack of connectivity or whatever it is. But for people like us who live in places with decent enough connectivity, it has made our lives so much simpler and easier. And fintech is not only UPI, right? Fintech is also about, as Mr. Puranik mentioned, weaning the poor away from the local money lender and bringing them into the mainstream of finance. So fintech, which involves usage of things like artificial intelligence based on somebody's mobile phone usage to provide them a small loan. So those are the things which I think need to develop in our country, and I think this is the time for them to develop.
So what about the sectors like healthcare that they have been talking about, and the telehealth that we talked about? So probably that is also going to be one of the sectors that will be looking for the the job opportunities at that level. The healthcare sector and the R&D that is being talked about. The R&D, and what do you think in this state?
The only thing I am not clear, and it probably is just my lack of understanding, is on health there may be some indirect benefit, because in terms of the actual outlay that the finance minister spoke about, it's largely unchanged. I think she spoke about it becoming 86 lakh crores or 86,000 crores, my mistake. 86,000 crores next year from 85,000 crores this year. So in terms of direct outlay, there doesn't seem to be a lot of change. But there is the talk about digitalization and this whole unique health ID. So I think those things will have an impact, but I don't know if those are a direct result.
I mean, there'll be lots of questions coming up regarding, when they are becoming postgraduates, what are they looking for as a job and what should be their specialization? Because that is something that confuses students.
Yes.
Because of the sectoral changes that have been happening in the last 2-3 years because of the pandemic, students are really confused as to which sector is booming and where they should be entering. So that is one question I know my students would be actually asking you. So be ready with that answers. Okay.
Sure.
So as the past trend goes, most budgets were talking about taxes, but this one did not talk about tax at all. So it was, we can say that tax stability is a virtue, or we can say that no change in us is a good news. Okay, so with that, I would like our third expert panelist, Ms. Neelu Jain, to share some of her views on a budget and its impact on the personal finances and the taxes that we have currently.
So, Dr. Lakshmi, you have actually summarized it. Yes.
Right.
So just to throw in some numbers, last year the direct tax collection was approximately 13 lakh crores, out of half of which was paid by salaried people like us. We paid almost 6.5 lakh crores of taxes, and expectations were rife. We wanted maybe some adjustment in the standard deduction, some enhancement in the ATC limits, and needless to say, we were sorely disappointed. There was nothing in it for us. So as far as the personal taxes are concerned, personal finance is concerned, this budget has been what can be termed as a non-event. But yes, they did their bit. They did tinker with some taxes. The most I think talked about is the taxes on VDA, virtual digital assets, at 30%. And not just that, what they have done is they have also introduced a TDS of 1% on every sale of VDA. And they have also said that the losses cannot be set off against any other gains. So they have tried to ring fence the trading in cryptos and NFTs. And of course, the legality of it is it's almost bordering on legalizing it, but we'll have to wait for the crypto bill to get some clarity. What they have also done, you have a class of investors who invest in unlisted securities as well. So the taxation, the surcharge on long-term capital gains on unlisted security was at 37%. That has been brought at par with all other securities. That is at 15% now. So that's one good news for one section of investors. And apart in this budget,
There's some connectivity issue.
Yeah, Ms. Neelu, we can't
Yes,
hear
Neelu,
you.
we cannot hear you.
And?
Miss Neelu, we're not able to hear you.
Your voice is breaking.
now you can hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
Please.
now it's better.
Yes. So I said that's it. There's the surcharge that has been brought at par with listed securities. Apart from there has been no action at all in this budget on the personal finance side. One section definitely is happy because there was fear in the market that they are going to come up with wealth tax on or inheritance tax. That hasn't come. So that's a sigh of relief. Yes. So that is all that's there on the personal finance side.
Right. So here I would just like to, ask you on, like, we were talking about how budget is impacting the fiscal part of it, and you talked about lots of, fiscal deficit coming in as 6.4%. So where is the government, getting the money from? What are the sources?
So majority of us is again our money. So they
Right.
borrow from the market in the form of government securities. And the largest subscribers to those government securities are none other than our banks, insurance companies, mutual funds, which again are safekeepers of our money. So to answer your question, the majority of the fiscal deficit is financed by government borrowing. A part of it is by dividends that they receive from their holdings like PSUs. RBI also every year transfers a sizable chunk of investment dividends to the government, and of course disinvestment. So the target for the next year is 65,000 crore. A good thing about this year's fiscal deficit is it's very much achievable. The revenue growth that they have envisaged is not very high. Revenue targets are most likely to be met, if not shooted. So the fiscal deficit, to my mind, is a number that will be achieved, and or it could be overachieved also.
Okay, so lots of positivity coming from the budget as far as we see from the three speakers. So any views beside all the positivity that you all can share? We've got another 10 minutes, so we can have one round of, discussion on this. That yes, is it surely a positive budget? Are we looking for the future, or will it make major changes, or it has not done anything?
Something that I would like to say, the taste of the pudding is in eating it. So the announcements, they are big announcements, but execution remains the key. So the outlay for, say, roads, or as Dr. Ajit also mentioned, the helpline for mental health. So they are big, good and good faith announcement. But in last budget also, we have seen the outlay for capital expenditure was huge, but they were lower than the budgeted numbers till December. In the last quarter, they are pushing it through. Disinvestment targets were not met. So despite all the lofty plans, execution throughout this year, next year is going to be key to actually bringing this budget to fruition.
Right. Dr. Ajit, your take?
I don't have anything to add other than what Ms. Jain said from the standpoint of, what's the negative one. But I just want us to think about one other element, which is a part of personal finance, which is not something that we usually think about. We usually think about taxes, but then we must also think about two other elements, right? One is the purchasing power of our money, and inflation affects it a lot, right? Now, if the government borrows a lot of money in the domestic market, unfortunately, the market was expecting that offshore financial investors will be, given what they wanted to be able to invest in government securities. So that has not happened. I don't even know if it can happen in the near future, but that's beside the point. So the financing of the fiscal deficit by way of local borrowings tends to push up interest rates, right? Now that, before that. So the spend that government will do may lead to inflation, right? Which will erode the cash in hand that we get. So that's one. On the other hand, if it leads to rise in rates of interest, then the passive income that we may get on our FDs and the mutual funds will increase. So that should be positive. On the other hand, the financial capital that we have will lose value because as the rates of interest go up, the present value of financial assets comes down, right? So it's slightly, these are very much interlinked. So it will vary for each individual depending upon whether they have passive income, whether they have a lot of financial capital or not. But I think that is another one that we need to watch out for. The consumer price index is like 5.5%, 6%, but I frankly don't believe it because the wholesale price index is in double digits. And I think in my life, I'm seeing for the first time when wholesale price index is actually higher than consumer's price index. And I don't understand why. And I don't think it reflects reality. So inflation is something that we certainly cannot, disregard. On the other hand, if the RBI ends up taking steps to, control inflation by raising rates, that has a very different outcome on the markets, on, other stuff. So that's what I wanted to add.
Right. True. Manohar sir, your views?
Sorry, there was some internet issues, connectivity problems, so I was not there for some time. So, okay, my last few words is that basically the infrastructure development is the main focus of the budget. It will really improve the economy because even right now the infrastructure is much available, but there are no takers. Like there are roads, but there are no trucks, or there are no vehicle on those. Once after COVID, once we are in the contact free area, then all the things will take up and the economy will grow in a better way. So we'll see the fruits if there is no COVID. Otherwise, since we are contactless, I don't think there is any development could have any effect on that. Even having the infrastructure, nobody can use it. So even right now I'm traveling, sometimes I find that the highways are very free. There is nobody on the roads. No trucks are there, no buses are there. So this can be used only if there is no COVID.
This is another direction to the discussion, like Sir said. But I feel that the budget will be considering the COVID aspect as well. That's why they have given so much of focus on digital allocations.
Yeah, that's correct.
What does the other speaker say about it? Do you think that the COVID may impact all these factors, all these things?
My only point is that anything that requires a physical transfer from one place to the other, which is, the things that we eat and drink and use. They will definitely be helped by infrastructure and supply chain improvement. But we being in a virtual mode like we are right now also tends to free up a lot of infrastructure, right? I mean, none of us is crowding the roads right now. Otherwise, for this conversation alone, there would have been 90 of us going in our cars, to Ghaziabad. So that freeing up is already happening so far as, the usage of infrastructure is concerned.
What do you say, Neelu, ma'am?
Yeah, I feel that the infrastructure spend that is happening, that's something that's going to, it creates jobs. You have allied industries, you have infrastructure companies, their order books grow big. You have cement companies that do well, steel companies that do well. They are bringing tap water to some, I think, 30 crore households. So you have pipe manufacturing companies, they in turn employ people. So yes, even though you are building for the future, even though right now you are not, using the infrastructure, you are laying the foundation stone for the future. So I think that's the whole idea behind this impetus on infrastructure building.
Right. So as we've heard all the expert panelists, surely our students would have got to know that budget seems to be, covering lots of things in this budget, which is catering to varies stuff that was not initially talked about, and even government was very shy of talking about green push or talking about defense as such coming to privatization, or we talk about mental health or digital, fintech coming in, or cryptocurrency coming in. So lots of things are new in the budget, and probably with the due course of time we'll be able to understand that this is the future that we are talking about. So I can summarize the whole discussion as growth is a marathon and not a sprint. So we all have to move towards a new India in a gradual way. So as to say that the budget was not a very perfect one, but we can always share some part of it and we can always criticize some part of it. As C. Rangarajan commented in the Economic Times, that groundwork has been laid for a faster growth. However, the quantum of growth may be overestimated, while fiscal consolidations could have been stronger. That is what he commented on the budget. So we are expecting that a budget brings lots of stability for today and gives us a foundation for tomorrow. That is what we are hoping for from the budget. So with that, I will hand over our comparers, Akriti and Aditi, to take over the session forward.
Thank you so much, Lakshmi ma'am. Thank you all panelists for such an insightful and interactive session. The house is now open for the audience to put up their question if they have. All the participants, please switch on their camera and please raise your hands for asking the questions.
I'm having good afternoon, everyone. I'm having a question. Like, do you really think digitalization of university is leading to hike in the prices of aviation turbine fuel? Like it is rising up by 8.5%, and there are no changes in the sin good taxes.
Many of you can answer.
So the aviation turbine fuel is a function of the global prices of oil, and our government has very little control over that. The only control that they have is they can maybe reduce the excise duty and custom duty on that, which a call government takes from time to time. And yeah. And yes, the sin good taxes have not come in this budget. So people who are buying it have actually breathed a sigh of relief.
I have also, because I have ITC stock.
So Piyush, did that answer your question?
Yes,
Or you
ma'am.
want?
Yes,
Okay. Okay. Bharti?
A very good afternoon to all the panelists. So my name is Bharti Tayal from PGDM first year. My question is that we have seen maybe some business opportunities or job opportunities as a kind of investment advisor. But now, as we have seen that crypto is getting some kind of acceptance in the Indian economy, can we also think that there might be some business coming out of, as of they would be advising us to which crypto we can invest in, because in cryptos are a market that changes more frequently as per the share or stock market, and that is more kind of risky kind of thing. You never know which goes up and which goes down. It can be the future job opportunity or business module.
Well, at the outset, I would say that cryptos as an asset class is something even I don't really understand. I know the technology they are based on, but the price movements, I think they defy all odds. And you have Mr. Musk in US, he tweets something and all the cryptos crash or they go through the roof. But having said that, yes, if in the crypto bill they are legalized as an asset, so definitely like you need an advisor for advising you on different asset classes. An advisor would be needed to advise for cryptos. There are a number of cryptos, so you would need somebody. So more than crypto, I think the technology part of it would be a greater job enabler. The technology that it's based on the blockchain technology, that's something that would be a greater enabler for job opportunities.
And also after the COVID, we have seen that any person is not depending on only one source of income. They are mostly focused on having different kind of sources of income. So what can be the different sources of income as compared in the relevance to the union budget?
The union budget had a mention of gig workers. I think some 17 lakhs or 18 lakhs gig workers. And from my limited understanding, what it essentially means is that you are not tied to a single employer, but you are freelancing and doing 2, 3, 4, 5 different things in any given week. And I am not sure if the budget by itself has anything on that, but for an individual to be able to enjoy multiple sources of income, all they need to be is to be flexible on what are the skills that they will develop, right? And we spoke about the portals that the government has proposed for skills, which is DESH, DESH. It expands as something which I have forgotten, but that portal which will help people develop skills should be used by everybody to get 2, 3 different types of skills so that they can offer those in the market.
Thank you so much.
Okay. So very lovely good afternoon everyone. So my question is union budget 2022 is a disappointment for middle class, as the Indian middle class was looking for the income tax relief and measures to help increase savings and relief in price of I can say the diesel and the petrol by the way of tax slashing. So what's your point of view on this?
Himanshi, I will tell you that the middle class always expect that something should be there from the budget, but it is very different that government thinks that we have not increased the taxes for last 4 or 5 years. So that is one of the one of the good things for you. So it is a balance between that we can consider that there is no hike in the tax. No, there is no benefit also. But the only thing is that considering the inflation rate, there should some extra incentive to be given to the middle class. That was not given by the government. That is the really a point to be made. But government has also collected a lot of tax from the individuals. That was also one of the high time. Once at a very high level, they have collected the taxes. But right, that there is no incentive to the middle class people during particularly this budget. That is right.
Neelu, ma'am, you want to say something?
I would just add that diesel and petrol, so a part of it, of course, is governed by the global oil prices, which are at very high levels. As we talk, they are $90 a barrel. And the duties and the customs that they charge on diesel and petrol, they go on towards funding your, fiscal deficit, the borrowing that they are doing to fund the infrastructure. And yes, middle class is disappointed as Puranik sir also mentioned that we pay so much of taxes. We expected some freebies, but it seems that we have got to live with both high oil prices as well as the taxes as they are.
Dr. Ajay, you want to ask something?
Thank
Sir?
you, ma'am.
Yes, thank you so much. And I must say, very engaging session. There were few obviously discussions. If you most of the students and all of us, if you listen to the news channels, there are a lot of discussions on the budget. So obviously there are the discussions are totally split between two ends. One is saying that okay, it is very promising budget for long term, targeting for 100 year of independence. Second is, what about today? When we are fighting with pandemic, it is said that the health budget has gone down. Second, the taxes obviously has not, there is no effect on the taxes. That means the middle class people were expecting some kind of relief. Third, obviously, if we talk about the taxes on petroleum products, obviously currently the prices of global market has gone up, but still the percentage of taxes that is levied on petroleum products are very high. So if we see these aspects, the current situation improvement is not taken very, I think, very, seriously. Second thing about budget, I'm literally being critical, but I would require, suggestion from the experts. Second is we talk about employment generation, in which the unemployment level due to COVID has touched the highest level. And as per the, the statement economic analysis survey, 60 lakh plus jobs in government sector alone, it is still vacant. So not much has talked upon that. Wherein employment level is on high, private sector are facing a lot of challenges, and obviously same goes for the job market also. So in that aspect, short-term plans are not explained, and obviously there was some questions from the journalist also, on which not much explanation was given by the finance minister. So I would seek the expert advice here on the panelists, that what about the current situation? Because if we see the the job market getting new young workforce getting into, and the existing workforce wherein taxpayer numbers have gone down in last 2 years. So what's your take on that? That how budget has strategized to solve this problem? Is there any strategy in the budget or the government regarding employment, regarding the taxes?
Ajit sir.
I mean, it's a very, very difficult question, I must acknowledge. And I don't think, there is a right answer to it, because what you can do should ideally help in the long run. Otherwise, it creates problems later. And I am not sure if any government can do something in the very, very short term to help with things like employment. But I just want to bring in a point here, which may be slightly tangential. So please bear with me. The government has talked about CBDC, right, which is the e-rupee that we discussed. And there is this concept of UBI, which is Universal Basic Income, which is where some of the Nordic countries, I think, are ahead of us in terms of, providing a basic sustenance to their citizens, because employment is not, at the right level. Unemployment is higher than what it should be. So over the long term, CBDC actually could be a good vehicle to transfer UBI to the citizens in a very, very efficient manner. I know that it doesn't answer the question on employment or what can be done in the short term to help with the pandemic, but I just thought that this is something that we may want to discuss as we go forward.
Ms. Neelu, Manohar sir, you want to say something?
Yeah, on the employment point of view, there was one earlier thinking of people up there that as Manrega is there in the rural area, the same Manrega should be available in the urban area to give the support to the labor who has lost the job during the pandemic. But that has not come in the budget. That was the thinking of the people. So see, there is no short-term benefits in the budget for creating the employment or for giving the jobs to the people. That is rightly correct.
And I think they have actually reduced the outlay on Manrega for next year.
True.
It means you have to more dependent on your skill, not on the government to get the benefit.
Right. And in terms, just to add on to that, there was a discussion on increasing the, tax jurisdiction. If we see, India being very few country wherein the tax, level, the threshold level of tax is 5 lakh. That means those who are earning below 5 lakh, they will not be taxed. And the average tax peer should be above the 5 lakh. The average income of Indian are 1.4 lakh. So it is again a very, very rare economy wherein the government is taxing people above the average income. If we see, US or even for that matter, European countries, their tax slabs are lower than average. That's why the percentage of people who are paying tax is less than 5%. So, if we see from the economics point of view, very less person are burdened with the tax with the higher rates. For that matter, even the super rich also taxing at 30%. So, as an economist, obviously there are a lot of economists. The government should have taken to increase the tax, jurisdiction. That means more people should be included so that the burden can be lessened down. So yes, that was a part of discussion. Again, it was very interesting. So just wanted to share that. You can share, search it on the internet also. So that is where we are somewhere lacking, because yes, we have a good number of people who are earning, very less number of people who are earning about 5 lakh. Right.
Ms. Neelu, you want to share something on this, or sir has actually answered everything?
He has actually. What the point is made actually is very pertinent. You have a very small number of people bearing the whole load of income tax.
True. So now we have
any other points
Tushar.
from students? I think Mayank, Ayushi.
Yes, Tushar wants to speak. Question first, then Ayushi.
Good afternoon. My name is Tushar. My question is that
Tushar, you are not audible. You need to be a little bit closer to your mic.
my question is that we know that the government is imposing 30% on the cryptocurrency, and on the other hand, finance minister said that the government does not recognize private cryptocurrency as a legal tender. Only digital rupee will be issued by RBI will be a digital legal tender. So we can say that the Bitcoin are the illegal tender, and how will tax impact on the Bitcoin users?
Can I take that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you must differentiate between a legal tender and any other asset, right? So the definition of legal tender is fiat currency, which means that a currency which has been issued by the government of a country, which everybody in that country is bound to accept, right? You are obligated to accept it as a legal tender, and that is what Indian rupee is, and that is what the CBDC will be. Now, we may call crypto as a cryptocurrency, but it's actually not a currency, it's a crypto asset. And that's why the finance minister has used the term virtual digital asset. She never said that, it's cryptocurrency, because virtual digital asset, as Ms. Jain also mentioned, that, it's based on that blockchain technology, and cryptos as well as NFTs are some of the, examples of that. So nobody can say that a Bitcoin or a Dogecoin is a legal tender, because it is not. It is just any other asset. It's like the Microsoft stock, right? Microsoft stock can never be treated as a legal tender. It is an asset, but it's not a legal currency for any country.
Okay, sir, sorry to interrupt, but I have a question regarding that crypto only. Still, people are confused about is that currency legalized in India or not? Suddenly, they legalized this by putting 30% tax on it and introducing digital currency in Indian economy. Isn't it a childish behavior by this government?
No, so introduction of e-rupee or CBDC has got nothing to do with Bitcoin, for example, right? So you look at the evolution from the gold and silver coins hundreds of years ago to the rupee notes to the money that is actually in your mobile phone, which is your Paytm and other stuff, right? To CBDC. But saying that because government is introducing CBDC and therefore Bitcoin should be legal is a bit of stretch of imagination, because they are not the same thing. Bitcoin is just any other asset except that it doesn't exist in physical space. It exists in a virtual space. Now, that said, the government can actually tax even illegal income, right? If you generate income dealing in drugs, the government can tax you on that. And it can also then seize all of your income separately because you generated it using drugs. So just the fact that something has been brought under tax net doesn't make it legal per se. What makes something legal or illegal per se is how it is treated under the civil and criminal codes of the country.
Okay. But sir, there is a risk in the digital currencies, like if we talk about Bitcoin exchanges are digital and therefore they are vulnerable to the hackers.
Yes.
Because most of the people invested much more money in today's era, like they are gambling in these things. These things are risky. Still, government are going to introduce these things. Why these things are happening in India?
I think it all depends upon the individual investor's prudence, right? I mean, even your bank account can be hacked. So which is why you need to adopt the safe banking practices. People have made fortunes in stock market. People have lost money in stock markets. You can't say that stock markets are bad.
Okay. So do you think this is a good decision by government?
For sure.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.
Ayushi?
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir, for giving me the opportunity to ask the question. Sir, I just want to know, as the whole country is focusing over green country, clean country, right? So what basically battery swapping policy indicates? I was not able to get the exact meaning of battery swapping policy, like it was for electric vehicles. So I want to know about that from you.
I will just make an attempt and then the others can add. Have you ever tried using any phone charger in your Apple phone, iPhone? Other than an iPhone charger, you cannot use a different charger for your iPhone. So which means that they are not interoperable. What the government is saying is that if the battery from X brand of electric vehicle can actually be used in Y brand of electric vehicle, it will help everybody, right? And that's how supply chains work. When an input can be used in different types of processes, and it's not dependent upon a specific type of process, then it smoothens the supply chain. So that's exactly what the government is trying to do, which is to make it mandatory. I don't know if they'll make it mandatory or what, for let's say Tata Motors electric vehicle to accept battery manufactured for a Toyota electric vehicle. It will help both, and it will reduce the number of spare batteries that need to be kept, because the same battery can be used in both the vehicles. That's basically it.
Okay, sir. Sir, just one more question. I just want to ask. So I was not able to get the exact meaning of strategic disinvestment. Like it was like if any public company wants to sell its shares to any other private companies or any other people, so they can carry forward their losses. So what about which losses they want to tell, like what they're actually indicating, like which losses they can carry forward?
Any of the panelists can answer? Okay, Ajit says then.
Dr.
Out of syllabus for me.
I'll try to partly answer her question. Disinvestment, of course, government, that's a way of government to get out of many businesses. And they also believe that businesses that are run by private parties tend to be more efficient. The biggest blockbuster disinvestment that's slated to happen is LIC. And you have such BPCL, etc., a lot of government sector companies that government has lined up for disinvestment, which should happen in the next financial year now, it looks likely. And the losses, what I could make of your question is, if a government company has losses in the book, if they are disinvested, will they carry it forward? To my mind, yes. The losses that a company has, no matter who the owner is, that will go with them. So in the case of, say, Air India, Tatas have inherited all the losses that Air India has incurred over a period of time. I hope that explains.
Oh, okay, ma'am. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Go back to Solomon versus Solomon. The company is different from its owners.
Right. So
basically, ma'am, I was asking it was like if any public company sell its shares, so if any kind of loss is there, so they can carry forward, like this kind of statement was there in the budget synopsis that I have read. It's okay, but my doubt is clear. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. My question is from Neelu, ma'am. That, ma'am, as we know that US or America is a developed economy. So, ma'am, what budget strategy is different from their strategy that they have adopted earlier, so that they have become a developed economy? So, what are the differences?
Yes. So we can't compare ourselves to America at all. America is the reserve currency of the world. They can print their way out of the biggest mess they get themselves into. And all of all countries around the globe, they go and buy US debt. So, and having said that, every developed country started as a developing nation at some point of time. So what India is now, US was maybe in the early 20th or early 19th century. It takes time, and it's a slow process, and we are on the right path. And being a democracy, I think it takes longer than some other forms of government. But having said that, maybe 25, 50 years down the line, we'll be a developed nation.
Thank you.
Satya?
So first of all, good afternoon, everyone. So my question is from the expert is that in the Union Budget 2022, we saw that government reduced the Manrega scheme budget from 98,000 to 98,000 crores to 73,000 crores, which is of like 25% reduction from past year. So what could be the reason behind this? Because as we know, Manrega scheme is for the people, for the population who are coming from the rural background to get them employment. So instead of increasing the budget, they have reduced this. So I would love to hear your insight.
Anyone?
I think the basic thinking about the government may be that the people who are not getting the job in rural areas were supported by Manrega. But with a lot of emphasis given on the infrastructure development, the roads and other sector will be developed in the rural areas. So they will get alternate employment in such sector. So Manrega, outlay to Manrega may be lowered. That could be one of the reasons. because construction is a big activity, and it will be there in the rural area also, because roads will be go from one area to other. So there will be a lot of jobs there around for the rural people.
Plus the Putnam housing, right? The 80 lakh houses.
Yeah, plus the housing, yeah.
Okay.
Yes, Satya, you want to say something?
No.
Okay, Akash?
Good afternoon, all. So my question is, does we expect any kind of exemption or tax reduction in the rupee, in the digital currency of India, digital rupee? Because as the other cryptos and the other assets, they are having a harsh impact of 30% taxation and for the traders as well. So to to generate the demand for the digital rupee or to accept by the people, does we can see any kind of exemption or deduction tax for that?
Question for the policymakers, actually. But it's still, we can take in, whatever views you can share.
I think what Dr. Ajit also said earlier, it's currency and it's a store of value, and as your regular currency, inflation erodes the value, and the ultimate purpose of it is to ensure transparency, easier transmission of the policies of government. So I don't think the government really needs to give any tax breaks for it to be popular. By its own means, it'll be, as he said, UBI is there, or there are so many subsidies that are being transferred to the accounts of people directly. Digital currency will just ensure that it's more transparent and it actually reaches the end user without any leakages. So to my mind, I don't think any tax breaks are actually needed. I mean, we all adopted Paytm, GPay without any tax breaks, so I think that won't really be necessary.
Great. Aman?
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. So my question is from Ajit sir. As Ajit sir has mentioned while giving answer to Pradyuman, that the crypto is not a currency, it is an asset. I totally agree that it is an asset, but because Tesla also hold some portion of Bitcoin as well as Dogecoin, and they hold it in an asset side of Tesla. But in America and most of the countries, the crypto is being accepted as a medium of exchange. Even one month earlier, Tesla has launched a new model named as Tesla Merchandise, and we can simply buy the model by exchanging Bitcoin or Dogecoin. So don't you think that it is now gaining a portion in as a medium of exchange?
See, anything can be a medium of exchange, right? I mean, if you and I decide to exchange something for this bottle of water is a medium of exchange, but it's only between you and me, right? It's not a legal tender for the country. Now, we transact using US dollars on Indian soil. So US dollar is a medium of exchange. It's probably a better store of value than the Indian rupee. But it's not a legal tender in India. And that is what I was trying to emphasize earlier, that different individuals or entities may adopt Bitcoin for their transactions, but that fact doesn't make it a legal tender in that country. It will still be something which is having a value, but it is still not a legal tender. And you just need to be able to differentiate between the two, right? When you start from the barter economies, when cowrie shells and other stuff were being used to, exchange value, to today when you actually use a few keystrokes on your mobile phone to transfer money from your Paytm wallet to somebody else's Paytm wallet. So
but indirectly we can also, just like I bought some US dollar. Okay, sir. And then by using Trust Wallet, I can convert it into USDT. That is Tether. That is a type of cryptocurrency. Then I can simply sold the Tether and convert it to Indian rupees. So So there is no involvement of a leader, tender, or legal. We can simply directly do it indirectly.
See what you're talking about, and I don't know if we want to spend so much time on one topic, but what you basically are talking about is the relative exchange rate of something, right? So when you look at CBDC and its relative exchange in terms of Indian rupees, it will always be one. Whereas when you look at US dollar or Bitcoin or you said Tether, I don't know if you meant Ether, right? Their relative exchange rates in Indian rupee or US dollar, it will always fluctuate similar to the price of any asset. And that is the distinction I am trying to emphasize.
Okay.
So I have got the answer. Piyush, last question now. So from your side.
Yes, ma'am. Like government is more focusing on the post office banking system. So, ma'am, there was a statement made by Rajya Sabha MP Subramaniam Swamy that the government should be more focused on the saving area. Like they should provide somehow rise in the FDs interest and lowered and relief in the educational loans for the middle class as well as the person those are pursuing their post graduation or the graduation by taking the loans from banks. So there should be some relief in the kind of educational loans. So I just wanted to ask by the panelists that the government is more focused on the post office banking and banking system, and also they are providing FDs rate like somehow 6 to 7%. So the point should be focused. They should be focused on the private banking system. Or
Okay, to
when
reply
you
to
are
the-
on.
Hanji, sir.
To reply to the Piyush point, I think both the things are much different.
Right.
Extending the core banking in the post office is a service to the rural people, because that is the lot of post offices are in the rural areas, so they can give the service to rural areas. Coming to the education loan from the banking industry, the rate of interest are depend on various policy measures, and if at present if rate are you consider these are higher, we cannot say anything about that. These are on the market driven and also certain incentives given for the election purpose. But we cannot say the finance minister should give some incentive for the election purpose by reducing the interest rate on the education loan. That is not in that purview particularly. The interest rate are based on the demand and supply and also various factors, and some concessions given by the banks for particular priority sector. Advanced it is called in the priority sector. So those things are not related to each other. Means.
I hope that answers your question, Piyush.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we have a question in the chat box asked by Anvishika, and she says for all the panelists, sir, as an expenditure is more than the total revenue government will make with this investment, and mostly it will be focusing on LIC. But we all know that LIC is a profitable company in the insurance sector. How will it impact economy according to you all? Any of you can answer. So LIC disinvestment on the economy being a profitable company.
I would say go back 30 years and look at what State Bank of India did to the Indian capital markets, right? When the SBI issue came out 30 years ago, it has in a large part helped deepen the Indian stock markets, and I think LIC disinvestment will take that forward. I don't think it's a bad thing. If you're thinking that disinvestment of LIC because it's profitable is a bad thing for the Indian economy, it is not. It is going to be a positive step in my opinion.
Right. So Manohar sir, Neelu ma'am, any take on that?
I completely concur with what Mr. Ajit has said. It's the step in the right direction, and we might in fact see some higher efficiency in the running of LIC. That's also quite possible if they have other shareholders on board.
Right.
It is that the government is just diluting its stake in the LIC, and that is the monetary stake, not the controlling stake. And the other shareholders will also have some control over that, but ultimately the efficiency will improve and it will further lead to the profitability of the LIC.
Right. So that's all the questions that have come up. I would just request our students now to at least give 5 or 6 students can come up with their views on the budget and what did they do after the live session happened. Then we had to speak up about exactly what was coming in, and now what is your understanding totally of the budget that has come out. After the discussion, you must have inferred something. So 4 or 5 students can come up with the their remarks as a youth. Yes, Ayushi.
Ma'am, in my terms, the basic country is right now focusing over green country, clean country. And like as I was asking about battery swapping policy also, another thing is the country is also focusing about Atmanirbharta, that is we will be self-reliant. As for defense also, it has been focused over we will itself we will make our own weapons, our own tanks, and almost I think 25 to 30% of the things that we uses to import from other countries, now we will make all those things by ourselves only. So in my views, we are focusing over the country is focusing right now over two things, that is over Atmanirbharta, that is self reliance, and another thing is we will be focusing over green and clean country, so we will be trying to reduce the pollution as much we can. Thank you.
That's good. Ma'am has joined in. Ma'am, we were just listening to the students' perspective again. With all the discussion that we have done, they were very inquisitive and they were quite active. Also in speaking, around 10 to 12 students have already asked the questions and they're sharing their experience.
Yeah, that's really great to see the interaction level. I have been observing, which is very, very positive, and keep it up, the students. That's a good scene to see that you are having a lot of inquisitiveness, a lot of questions in your mind. Please continue.
Hello, good afternoon. My view on the budget is we have seen many digital things coming across from the budget, like digital rupee and digital universities, education and mental health, everything. But I think the main challenge for the government will be to provide this not only to the rural but to the urban areas. Like we have also seen the case of 5G and that the contract of optical fibers will be given away. So that is the biggest challenge for the government, to take the lower section of the economy and to take the rural area to match the growth of the urban area. And that is something that needs to be looked upon. That is my view. Thank you.
So my point of view is government has covered all of the major points like environment. They have introduced a green bond and the e-governments, and employability was there, and digitalization and the fintech was the main focus of the budget. And in the digitalization, like digital university and digital currency was introduced. And Atmanirbhar Bharat, and the main focus was on the infrastructure as well. But the government has to focus on the inflation, that it is also increasing. So my point of view is only. Thank you.
Good afternoon. That previous budget are more focusing on the individual and the tax rates, but we can see that the budget is more focusing on the development and the growth of the economy. So as we can say that the government is expenditure is 10 lakh crore in the PM Gati Shakti Yojana, which is more focused on Atmanirbhar Bharat as well as the digitalization of the country. But as we previous budget are more focusing on the individual, but this is the budget for the investment and the growth of the economy, which is leads to 5 to 10 GDP economy. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My views are on the budget is that I have observed that in India, our country, NPOs, that is non-profit organizations such as educational institutions and many other. So I have seen a rapid increase in their productivity, in their revenues. So I believe that the current rate for NPO is 10%. NPO gives tax to government only 10%. So I think the tax rate should increase because the burden is coming on the salaried class people. Neelu ma'am told us the figures that 13,000 lakh crore is tax is paid by the salaried class sorry, half of the 13 lakh crore is paid by the salaried class people. So I think the rate of taxation for the non-profit organization should be, it's time to increase. As we have seen that Dubai was a tax-free economy till now, but I read a news that Dubai has also introduced a corporate tax of 9%, because Dubai was earning their revenue from collecting fines from the people. But now what happened that people are used to that fine, that how to avoid that fine. So the government is not getting money. So they have also introduced a corporate tax. So that is all from my side.
I would like to highlight some major points like real estates. An outlay of 48,000 crores have been made under the PM Awas Yojana, and the defense system 68% of capital on R&D is open for private sector. The automobile sector, they are getting boost up. And the fourth, I want to highlight the electronics duty concession for the high manufacture of the highly manufacture and the growth of those things. And also the if we talk about the jobs and like the PLI schemes have to be there to create 60 lakh jobs in coming next 5 years. And if we talk about agriculture sector, yes, there the funds have been announced by the finance for the startups of new agriculture, which will be boosting up the agriculture sector too. And the education sector is the digitalization of university and PME Vidya extended to 200 200 channels. And if we talk about the healthcare, yes, the digital health ecosystem has been built, will be coming, and also they will be focusing on the mental health and just to increase the efficiency and the literacy rate of the youth, those who are facing by the mental health, those challenges, these are coming by the mental health.
Thank you so much all for sharing your views, and having such a great session was really good. Now over to the anchors for further processes.
Thank you, panelists, for answering all the questions. We now request Dr. Amit Bhati to present the concluding remarks.
Thank you, Aditya. A very warm evening to one and all present here. You see, the main objective behind holding this panel discussion was to apprise all of us regarding the changes that have been impacted the economy of our country. And the eminent panelists of the sessions, Mr. Manohar Puranik, Dr. Ajit Gupta, and Ms. Neelu Jain, had very well stressed onto addressing us towards different aspects that have been introduced and reconstructed in the newly introduced Union Budget of 2022. And specifically on the basis of three areas which were in the discussion, like BFSI sector, employment prospects, and opportunities in personal finance. The question is, will it propel, like I'm asking question for the budget, will it propel post-pandemic economic growth? So there were host of measures for a number of sectors, and it was aimed at boosting growth amid high and rising inflation. So, however, very few changes to the personal income tax structure, as we have discussed, we have seen. So no major populist giveaways by the finance ministry. And the discussion by the panel members has very well taken all of us to understand the impact on the discussed sectors of India. So if we start, we have discussed about taxes. So government promises a stable and predictable tax regime. The government will tax income from digital assets, as we have discussed, transfers at 30%. Government to provide one-time window to correct omissions in ITRs filed, updated returns to be filed within 2 years. And as everybody was talking and asking questions about cryptocurrencies, so they have also said that gift of cryptocurrencies to be taxed at receiver's end. And as far as digital currency is concerned, and the correct was that Dr. Ajit has said that it should be termed as a digital asset. So launch of blockchain-based digital asset will be starting in the year 2022 to 23. And they have also asked to launch scheme for taxation of virtual digital assets. And income, if we generate from virtual digital assets, it has to be taxed at 30%. And Dr. Manohar Puranik has very well described us the impact of budget on banking and finance sector, that rupees 1 lakh crore financial assistance to states to be provided in 2022-23 to catalyze the investments. And government has also proposed in the budget to introduce digital rupee through Reserve Bank of India using the blockchain technology. And government will be taking measures to step up private capital in infrastructure, as is being discussed. And 100% of approximately 1.5 lakh post offices will come on the core banking system. And it will, I think, definitely enable financial inclusion and access to accounts through net banking, mobile banking, as we all know, ATMs, and also provide online transfers of funds between post office accounts and bank accounts. 75 digital banks in 75 districts, as has been discussed, will be set up by scheduled commercial banks to encourage digital payments. And the use of surety bonds as a substitute for bank guarantee will be made acceptable in government procurements, which is a very good point. So as discussed, these measures, I think, will definitely boost up the BFSI sector. Then moving to what Dr. Ajit has discussed regarding employment perspective, the opportunities youth is having. So if I see efforts of central, state, government leading to jobs, entrepreneurial opportunities, we are talking about digital ecosystem for skilling and livelihood to be launched. So this will aim to skill, reskill, upskill citizens through online training. And as we all know, API-based skill credential payment layers to find relevant jobs and opportunities. So we all talk about Make in India. So if I think Make in India can create, as is being discussed in a budget, 6 million new jobs in our country. And as we all are aware that earlier about employment generation in the economic survey for 2022, the union government has already mentioned that building on the same approach, the budget, they had enhanced outlays for more productive capital expenditure. And if we have observed the budget carefully, the government budget was approximately 34.5% growth in capital expenditure over the previous year of 2021, with emphasis on railways, roads, urban transport, power, telecom, textile, and affordable housing. And I think all these initiatives are expected to collectively generate employment and boost output in the medium to long term through multiplier effects. Then coming to what Ms. Neelu Jain has said about how much opportunities our country is having in personal finance. So I think the budget has strongly focused on the macroeconomic factors more, but has made no big noise on the tax related proposals. As far as individual taxpayers are concerned, yes, it do imply stability in personal finances, as they can broadly continue with what we are having right now in current roadmap to achieve our long-term wealth goals. As we all know that a welcome move by government is for high net worth individuals, because they have been limiting the surcharge at 15% all long-term capital gain, which helps them bring down taxation by approximately 2.08% and 4.58% for HNIs, earning more than rupees 2 crore and rupees 5 crore respectively. And the budget clearly disappointed, I should say, the salaried class that was hoping for tax relief in the form of a higher deduction limit and revision of tax slab amidst the pandemic. And this indicates that consumption growth will continue to be mute in the near term. Perhaps the government's plan to increase spending did not leave much leeway for offering income tax relief. However, the budget did announce certain reforms and proposals related to personal finance for the common man, as is being discussed. And to conclude, I would say, though there are statements and intentions towards addressing the concerns of the Indian economy, the budget somewhat falls short of taking an integrated and holistic approach to development. This is where the lacuna presently lies. As such, there are ways by which the growth, equity, sustainability trade-off can be handled, and has been exhibited by some global best practices, we all know. The budget shows that while we have started thinking on those lines, we are still distant from that award goal. So thank you to one and all. So over to you, the anchors.
Thank you so much, sir. We would request Dr. Lakshmi Pandey to please propose the vote of thanks. Please, ma'am.
Let's have Director ma'am first. Meanwhile, please fill in the attendance forms and as well as the feedback forms for the session. Urvashi ma'am, can we have your closing remarks?
Hanji?
Yeah, students will be shortly sharing the feedback later. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
We have had the discussion here, and we would request you to add your closing remarks, ma'am. And obviously, there are few names you have listed down for announcement. So I request you to share the same.
Well, first of all, I must thank all the expert speakers. I'm sure the initial expectations of the discussion would have been met up to a certain extent, and students have participated. So that has been great to know. So many of students have asked questions, observations have been shared by them. So congratulations, but this journey of learning should not stop here. And as we always have the practice to motivate those who have participated well in the different sessions, this time also, few students have been shortlisted by a few faculty members and the coordinators. I would appreciate Dr. Lakshmi, you may please make the announcement, you being the coordinator and moderator of the session. I am sure students will feel motivated.
Okay, ma'am. So the names are Miss Bharti Tyal, Akash Jaggi, Tushar Katod, and Ayushi Vashne. So these 4 students have been selected today for the session, and we must applaud them for being very active and
Thank you, ma'am.
To be there. So with your due permission, ma'am, I would like to propose the formal vote of thanks.
Yeah, please go ahead. Congratulations to these students who have participated well, and of course to all those who have contributed by their observations, questions, and any type of interaction. So keep it up. All the best.
Thank you, ma'am. It's my privilege to propose a formal vote of thanks. First and foremost, I would like to take this opportunity to thank our expert panelists, Mr. Manohar, Dr. Ajit, Ms. Neelu, for taking out time from their busy schedule and agreeing to be part of the panel discussion and sharing the valuable insights on budget. And would like to thank our leader, Professor Dr. Urvashi Makkar, Director IMS Ghaziabad, for always guiding and mentoring us in academic and non-academic endeavors. Lastly, an earnest thank to the organizing team, Finance Club, our students for being such enthusiastic audience and participating in the discussion. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you once again, dignitaries, for your esteemed presence. We will now close the session. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, just final announcement. The link of the feedback is shared on the chat box, so all students kindly fill the feedback. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ajit, Ms. Neelu, and Mr. Manohar.
Thank you, Lakshmi ma'am, and
Thank you so much.
thank you all the participants.
Yes, we'll be sharing the feedbacks also with you, sir and ma'am.
Sure, sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Lakshmi. Thank you, the participants and Director ma'am. Thank you.
Goodbye and good day to everyone.
Goodbye, sir.
Good day, sir.
So we can ask Ashwini ji to stop this.
Yes, may I request Mr. Aswani to close the session, end the session.